and I'm excited right now. I am sitting in between two awesome gentlemen, Gary and Derek, and we're going to be talking about Macbeth.
It doesn't take you much to get excited.
I think this is going to be an awesome interview. We
Call
always
us gentlemen,
have fun.
though. We better behave.
Be on your best behavior, boys.
Okay.
Now, talk with us about this performance. And first of all, I want you to tell everyone what you told me about pronouncing it. I made a mistake. It's not Macbeth. It's
Macbeth. Yes. It's Scottish, not Irish.
Yes.
So is that not correct? I mean,
Right.
Derek's the real expert here when it comes to Shakespeare.
But
and things
we don't
like
do
that.
it in Scottish because then we drive them all away if we talk like that. You know.
Exactly.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people they read Shakespeare, and a lot of things in Shakespeare have a rhyme to it and a rhythm to it, and they go, well, that doesn't rhyme. Well, yeah, it does if you spoke in the dialect that was spoken back then.
Right.
It's kind of neat, a neat little tidbit that everybody now knows. But we don't maintain the dialect for this. It would be kind of fun, but it would make it difficult for people to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little
we don't want to kind of handicap ourselves, because one of the things that I think that the whole ensemble is doing really well is making it clear, so that anybody sitting there who doesn't know what happens in the play will get it and figure out stuff. So.
Yeah, and that's real important, because I'll tell you what, I completely understand, because I myself am intimidated by what I call Shakespeare. Hearing that language and that everything, and it can be very intimidating, but it's really neat, and it's been a neat process for this. We're doing this like a staged radio play, like back in the 40s.
Okay.
And I don't know if I think I told you this the last time I was here, but I was quite proud of myself of thinking, wow, this is so unique. We're going to do Shakespeare for the radio. Well, of course, Orson Welles did it back, and he did 17 different Shakespeare pieces on the radio back in the 30s and 40s. But putting it up there on the stage and really making the focus be the words, like you have to do in a radio show, and having that be the motivation for your actors to they don't have the crutch of blocking and all this movement going on to assist them in conveying a message. So they've really had to focus on giving the proper emotion and the attitude and what their intent is and what their words that they're saying. And when they get that, it's amazing how clear it is, even though it's just, it's still in that Shakespearean dialect or Shakespearean speak that can be very intimidating. But when that right emotion is there and that right intent is there, you completely understand it. And as a matter of fact, it was funny. Our stage manager, Rebecca Gardner, we sat there and we were doing rehearsal, and we worked on a big piece there, and I was working with them about the emotion, the certain emotion they needed to convey and what their intent was, and they got done. She goes, wow, it's just like they're really speaking English.
Yeah.
Totally understand.
Yeah, I completely understood that. So that's when we know we've done our job, when just the regular person who isn't familiar with that kind of language and that verbiage can sit there and go, I know exactly what they're saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's like the reason it works really well as a radio play was because it was written for a stage with no scenery.
Right.
So they do little things like weather reports. You get, boy, my liege, the clouds. And so it does help the audience kind of picture it. The problem is so many people have done it, Shakespeare-ish for so long they forget it's a play.
Right.
And there's real people, or the characters are real people anyway, and they're going through. Well, in Macbeth, horrible stuff happens to them.
Right, absolutely.
So if you can tap into that and figure out what's going on, it sounds like talking too, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's been a neat process to work on that.
Yeah, there's this one real, I was telling Derek out there while we were waiting, I mean, I got goosebumps the other night. We were doing the scene with Macduff, and he finds out from Ross, his cousin, that Macbeth has gone and slaughtered his whole family. And
Yeah.
so that whole really kind of raw emotion thing there of finding out your wife, your kids, everybody that you know and love are all now dead at the hands of this man.
Right.
And he did such a wonderful job with that scene. I mean, like I said, I literally got goosebumps, and that's when I know it's really working, is when that kind of stuff happens. And Macbeth is so full of these visceral
Yeah.
things. I mean, it starts out with it could have easily been, how we do a stage radio play every Halloween. This could have easily
Oh, yeah,
been
it
in
would've been a
that
great
slot,
Halloween slot.
because it starts out with witches and standing around a cauldron and creating this concoction, and Macbeth shows up, and they tell him that he's going to be king and that he's going to be Thane of Cawdor, and well, I guess Thane of Cawdor first and then king, but and then we have ghosts and we have apparitions, and it's really fun. We've put together this is a little bit different in the sense that not all the sound is coming from people on the stage. I found we got some really cool environmental things to give that ghostly feel, and that and with these apparitions and things, and we do have pre-recorded crickets, because I don't have anybody in the cast that can do a good cricket, but
Not
one of
for-
these days we will, Derek.
Not
We'll
for
have somebody
5
that can
minutes,
do a
yeah.
good cricket for 5. I mean, it's hard enough for them to do the. We have 2 people that do the bubbling cauldron that happens, and because you hear the cauldron bubbling, and so we got 2 people standing there with glasses that are half full of water with a straw, and they take turns. One will blow into their straw until they're almost out of breath, and they'll let the other one know, and then that one will pick up, so we don't have any kind of lapse in there. And well, you're one of those.
Yeah, well, the fun thing is now, my smart idea, looking back, is the witches actually throw stuff in the cauldron. So Garrett puts a bucket of water. So I've got my cup in one hand and the straw blowing, and then every time I look at the witch, and they'll go like, "Eye of Newt." So it was like, it's like Macbeth the cooking show. And then I put it was great because during rehearsal I put the water thing down. I thought, oh, we're done. And then all of a sudden it's like they start in again with another. I had to reach around again. Meanwhile, in the corner of my eye, the young lady doing the other part of the cauldron is going, and she's turning blue while I'm, So there's a lot of things to work on at once, and it's not just. What's fun about this is not just the acting part of it, but in support, doing the sound effects.
Right.
Is another chunk of it, and is also fun. And I don't get to do that a lot.
And it's fun, because he's usually, we've done a lot of adaptations of Orson Welles' things over the years, and Derek makes a wonderful Orson Welles, and so he always kind of plays that character in the shows that we've done before. And so he's always so busy. But with playing Macduff, he's got a little bit of extra time that he could get in there. You do a thunder sheet. You handle the thunder a couple of times, but we've got all kinds of stuff as far as the sound effects go. And I mean, our cabbage is back.
The best is the cabbage.
So somebody asked me, "Are you going to have?" Because apparently we do cabbage all the time. Apparently in our radio shows. Because we've used it. I mean, for Dracula, it was when the stake was being driven through the heart. Somebody was basically making coleslaw on the stage. And,
the best is the dead body sack of potatoes.
We have dead bodies or sacks of potatoes that get thrown out, and of course Macbeth gets beheaded in the end, and so we had to have that head of cabbage get tossed onto the floor, and so it really is. It's a lot of fun, and to come and see the show, and it's also supported with. Spent a lot of time finding projections, because we got projections that are supporting this. It also kind of puts you in the scene of where it's at, and they're the actual castles that are being talked about. Now, it took a lot of photoshopping, because now those castles all have rain gutters and things like electrical things that I all had to take out. But
Beamer parked in the driveway.
But it's a real full sensory kind of experience, and we've been rehearsing for a couple of weeks now, and we got some really good actors. We got a wonderful, she's a high schooler, senior in high school, and her name's Sarah Mize, and she plays Our Lady Macbeth, and just has a wonderful grasp
Yeah, it's
on
really good.
on Shakespeare and because the big trick about Shakespeare is, and as an actor in general, is you have to understand what's being said,
Right.
to be able to convey the right emotion and or right intent. And she really had a grasp on that from day one. And Derek's been a big help with that too, in kind of getting people to understand where these characters are coming from. But that's, you were working with, you've done a lot of Shakespeare in the past. I mean,
Right.
that was your main focus, wasn't it?
Right, grad school. I was lucky enough to study with the voice teacher from Royal Shakespeare Company, and also a fellow by the name of David Hammond, who's excellent at Shakespeare and directing Shakespeare. So by rehearsing and watching him direct and watching my other teachers work, I kind of started with that, and it's kind of paid the bills, so to speak, along the way. So it's been probably 30 years of it.
Wow.
But I don't get to do it much. So when I did it, one of the things we talked about when we were working on this is, do you want to be the narrator? And it kind of, when it worked out well when Gary said, I need you to play Macduff, because it was like Shakespeare, and yes, I want to do it. I don't want to, it's so rarely done, other than the huge regional theaters that can afford to do it, that whenever the chance comes up, it's exciting. There's no theater like it when it's done well, and there's no theater like it when it's done bad either. So unfortunately, it's kind of mucked about and not done ineptly, so much that it turns people off, when really it's audience participation at its biggest, because people turn and start talking right to the audience. Mark Woodard, who plays Macbeth, has several speeches where the other night I was watching him and he just started talking right to where the audience would be, and that'll pull you right in when the character shares that much with you. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Now tell us a little bit about your role in the play. You said you got to play a good guy this time.
Yeah, this is a good guy. Well, Shakespeare has those great turnarounds, and it's funny because I always come in the scene, hey, how's everybody doing? Oh, So Macduff figures out, finds the murdered king, then runs off to help plot the overthrow of Macbeth, then finds out his family's been murdered and says, yes, I'll fight with you guys. And then they, come back from England back up to Scotland, and, the battle ensues and whatnot. But it's kind of cool because at some points I'm kind of like a detective. At some points I feel like, Captain America and the Avengers. Not Iron Man, I'm not good enough looking, but, it's kind of that. And someone asked me, how do you relate to that? And it's like, well, you got Game of Thrones, now you got all that. But plus you've got your own life that an actor draws on. And it wasn't until I figured out they probably killed my dog too that I really got upset. Gary and I are animal people. Gary knows that at one point we had 5 dogs. My wife and I had 5 dogs. I thought, they killed the dogs too, and that really just made me so mad that I
whatever it takes to get you there.
Yeah, and it does. It's an amazing thing that Macduff goes through, and a lot of the other characters have horrible things happen. And plus what's cool is once the first murder happens, all the weather starts going like boom, fog,
Crazy.
Yeah.
roosters killing chickens, just the
horses eating each other.
Wow.
Yeah,
and you see all that, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, something's really wrong here.
Yeah. And I loved the neat little twist that Shakespeare put in this is, when these witches all do their conjuring and make, for the most part, Macbeth is invincible.
Yeah.
He cannot be. What's the wording on that?
No man of woman born shall slay Macbeth, or something like that.
Yeah, and of natural born or whatever it is. Well, and so Macbeth is not afraid of anybody, basically. And they start this sword fight with Macduff, and they're carrying on, and then Macduff informs Macbeth that he wasn't natural born; he was actually cesarean born.
Yeah.
And so what the witches gave to Macbeth doesn't hold water with since how Macbeth wasn't born the natural way by woman, and so then Macbeth suddenly starts becoming a bit of a coward. Well, I'm just not going to fight.
Yeah, I can give up.
Yeah,
Backing off a little bit.
yeah, but
Well, that in itself too that can go right over an audience's head, because I did some research. It was fatal to the mother.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if you can imagine, your birth caused your mother's death. So what you would cling to then is trying to make up for that. I think
Right.
that's one of the driving things I found really duh. And you read Macbeth in like 10th grade in New York State where I grew up, and I was like, what is this crap?
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, becomes your music, if that makes sense. And I've read this play maybe 40 times and seen it, and I finally went, wait, that's really important.
Right.
There's just layers of this play that you could read it over and over again and not get. Hopefully the audience will get.
Well, I think
lot of
I think
it,
it's
yeah.
conveyed so clearly throughout this whole thing. We've got 11 actors portraying somewhere around 23, 24 characters.
Wow.
Yeah.
And 3 of our actors portray strictly like we just have a Lady Macbeth, we just have a Macbeth, and we have a Macduff.
Right.
And then the other 8 people portray at least 2 characters each. And some portray 5 or 6. And we have a student that was from Love, Labor's Lost, who Derek's production there at ASU. He's in it, and lots of really, really good. It's I always am amazed at the talent that's up here when they're given a chance or when they're given some direction, what they can pull off, and so it's a good show, and there's funny parts in it. It's just not all death and gore and maim and
laugh,
things.
too.
Yeah. There's a very funny section with Porter the gatekeeper when he greets Macbeth after a night of heavy partying.
Yeah.
So
A little
yeah.
partying in here too.
Yep.
Well, it sounds fantastic. Now, this is tomorrow night, Saturday night, correct?
Tomorrow night, Saturday night, May 17th at 7 p.m. at the Blowing Rock School Auditorium. And tickets are $12 for adults and $8 for everybody else. So
Perfect.
dogs, cats.
Anyone you'd like
people.
to bring?
Yep, absolutely.
Which is
Awesome. Yeah, witches welcome. That's pretty exciting right there.
Yep, and they can call us at 828-414-1844. Or they can go to our website at ensemblestage.com and take a look at it, and also they can see about our whole summer season. But that'll be another discussion.
That'll be another interview for another time.
Yes, that's right.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming in. It sounds like it's going to be an incredible performance. You guys know what your Saturday night plans are now. So thank you guys for coming in, and we will be back right after these messages with more of the Mountain Television Network.